Yes.
Okay, great. So, tēnā koutou katoa, kia ora everyone, and welcome to the Waimairi Fendalton Waimairi Harewood Community Board. We're opening up the meeting today for the 11th of April, 2023 at 4:35 p.m. Before we start, we are going to do a karakia. We have the words up on the screen behind us. You're welcome to stand and say it with us as a board will all sing.
Whakataka te hau ki te uru, whakataka te hau ki te tonga, kia ngā kina ki uta, kia ngā tara ki tai, he ia he ana te atakura, he tia, he huka, he hauhonga, te he mahu.
Thank you, everyone. So for item number 1, we have apologies. We have two apologies for lateness. One is for Sam, one is for David, and
Possible early departure due to the other.
yes, thanks, James. And then we also have, just want to acknowledge that we have Linda and Shresh attending by Zoom. So let us know if you both have any technical issues, or just raise your hand if you have a question when we go through any motions. So could I have a mover and a seconder for item 1? Thanks, Jason, to move and to second. Thank you, Nicola. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any against? Carried. Great. Item number 2, declarations of interest. There were no declarations of interest that have been recorded, but just going to put it to the board now if there are any declarations of interest throughout the items that we have today. No. Moving on to item number 3, confirmation of the previous minutes. So I'm happy to move the previous. Actually, no, I can't because I wasn't here.
No.
So I don't.
I'll move those.
Thank you, Jay.
Yes.
And a seconder for that.
Second.
Thank you, Jason. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any against? No, carried. Great. Moving on to item number 4. So public forum. We have 2 public forums today. So I will now invite Birthright Canterbury. This is Rodera and Cynthia. If you would like to come to the end of the table. So with a public forum, you've got 5 minutes for a presentation, and that 5 minutes includes questions. And as a board with public forum, we're not able to make any decisions today. But we're excited to hear what you have to present to the board. Okay. So please start when you're ready.
Yeah, thank you so much, and good afternoon to everyone. And we have Cynthia, one of our parents today. So today we'd like to share with you about what Birthright is, because although it's a very old organization, not many people know about it. So we have a short video that will show you. And then Cynthia will share her story a little bit. And then if we have time for that 5 minutes, then we can have a question and answer.
Thank you.
You should be able to sound.
We'll just pause it and see. Don't worry, we're not ending into your 5 minutes. Is there like a possibly picture?
Aaron, is there a blue light on there?
Oh, this has got a big blue ring around it. Yeah.
Muted on someone's device.
Oh yeah, there we go. Oh, yeah. Is there music behind this part?
There should be.
I can't remember now.
Oh
Can Sharish hear us? Sharish, can you hear us?
Yeah, we can see. I can't hear anything.
yeah. Yeah. Okay, but
But you can hear us.
Okay, we've got a few technical issues. What we could do is The video can be circulated to all of the community board members and the councillors, so we'll be sure to view it. But if you wouldn't mind taking us through what Birthright does,
Yeah.
because it looks like the video speaks to some things which we're unable to hear. But if you'd like to share the story, then that would be great.
Okay, sure. So briefly about Birthright, we work alongside single parent families. So we have one here in Christchurch, and we're part of the Canterbury office. In other areas in New Zealand, there are also Birthright. And the vision is to help children and families from single parent families to become contributing members of the community. So we have staff that work alongside with them. We have social workers, and our Christchurch office is based at Harewood Road at number 1 Harewood Road, co-located with Papa Nui Youth. Yeah, and so in this community board, there's about 60 members, parents and children that we work alongside. And we provide social work support, one-to-one home visit with the families, which they really appreciate, as you can hear from Cynthia a little later. And we try and provide activities for the whole family to foster that positive relationship among members. Yeah. So that's that, and I'll let Cynthia share her story with you.
I've come from an unbalanced background, and I've been handed over to Birthright, who's directed me in the right direction with children, my 5 children. And that direction for us has been helped with clothing, especially uniform, stationery, shoes, just a lot of things with the school stuff that needs to be paid for that I can obviously pay for it. And then having to be with Birthright, it's like this great big energy force. You're just pulled in, just great caring, great love, really. And then the children get involved, and with them with us, I've been with them almost for 3 years. It's definitely a huge change in our lives, especially my older twins. They're 13 and they've been put into St. Bede's, and with that, it's great help, all because of Birthright. We do attend like our family meetings with them. They encourage us through like pop-up shop that we're doing at the moment, and just other things. We want to go, the boys want to go to a youth centre. There's one in their area, in their office. So just things that help after school, because the last thing I want is my children on the streets, which is no good. So with Birthright really pushing us and helping us and paying for things that I cannot afford, it really helps me a lot, and the children, and they're very happy. And we go out on a lot of outings as well. So there's Launchpad, Mega Air, things like that, barbecues, and there's also treats for the parents as well. So they don't just care for the children, it's also single parents. And then we also mingle in with each other, get to know each other. So we have a lot to share over a cup of tea and some kai. Excuse me, I'm a bit nervous for this public speaking.
No, you're doing fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you. It sounds like an incredible organisation, and a really important mahi that our community have access to. So I guess a question, if we've got maybe just a bit of time, what can the board do to help Birthright? What would you obviously we can't make any decisions today, but we're eager to know how can we further support and voice the great stuff that you do.
We rely on donations. So one of my job as a manager is to do funding applications. And what Cynthia said, with all the activities that we do, it's a partnership with all the supporters and former Birthright families and the community in general, but also like city council have put applications there, and other trusts. So that's where we get the funding resources for the mahi that we do.
Yeah, Fantastic. Well, we've got a few of our staff members here, and I don't know whether you've got contacts to them and whether there's some funding possibilities there. I know that we have a few funding holes that, yeah, like I said, we're not able to make any decisions today, but we'll definitely spread the great work that you do through our networks. You've got our staff and our contacts as well. And thank you so much, Cynthia, for coming along. You did a fantastic job sharing your story. But it's wonderful to meet you both, and hopefully we'll see more of you in the future.
Yeah,
Thank you
so much.
Thank you.
So for our next public forum, we have John. John is speaking to the Memorial Ave and Avonhead areas around transport. Not sure. Pardon? No, I don't think John is here. That's all right. We will move on then to deputations by appointment for item number 5. And we have Simon. I believe, Simon, you're on Zoom with us. Simon, can you hear us? I think we can see you, but you might have. Oh, perfect.
Is that me, Simon Kingham? Yeah.
Yes, that is you.
Cool.
So, Simon, for the deputations by appointment, it's 10 minutes. And that includes question time. Yep. So we are all ears.
I won't take anywhere near 10 minutes. I just wanted to, so this is about my submission about the raised platform on near Heaton's Intermediate. I put a submission in, and some of you will know I don't live in the area, but I do go past there. But I put a submission in because I am, as some of you may know, I'm a professor of geography at the University of Canterbury, and I teach and study transport and urban issues there. But I'm also Chief Science Advisor at Ministry of Transport. And I guess my job in my role as Ministry of Transport is to provide advice and to try and ensure that policy coming out of central government is evidence-based. And one of the things I've noticed recently a little bit is some of the conversations about raised platforms. They've got a bit of, we've got one major one on Lincoln Road, and there's been some comments in the media about them. And I thought it'd be worth just letting you know what I've read about some of the evidence for them, because they are new. And I think sometimes stuff that's new concerns us and worries us, and we don't know what it is. And we do know that, yes, they will slow traffic down. And of course, that's partly the purpose. So I just thought I'd mention briefly some of the evidence. So the main thing is, the reason that's there is to do with safety. And they work because they reduce speeds. And there's also very clear research, and that was in my submission, that they reduce crashes and injuries. And they do that more effectively than without them, because the reality is what we've seen over the years, as we've got less people walking, cars often don't slow down for zebra crossings, for instance, and they actually need some physical thing to slow them down. And this is where the raised platforms really deliver, and they really work. And I think it's worth looking particularly at, when I looked through the submissions, and two things I noticed is lots of the school kids said they don't feel safe, and they want it to feel safe. So that's really good. The other submission I particularly noticed was Shane Turner's. Now I know of Shane because he's quite a well-known traffic engineer. And I read his submission. I thought it was really clear and really excellent. And I guess for people living in the community, having someone like Shane who can put a submission in is really valuable, because he is an expert in the field. The other thing I think is interesting is I bumped into a friend who lives in Addington and crosses Lincoln Road near the raised platform there. And she said it's fantastic, because she feels a lot safer when she's walking with her kids. And she was, I think, on the board of trustees at Addington School, and is someone who walks around that community. So while there's a lot of people who drive cars who don't like them because they slow them down, but of course that's the purpose of them, people who walk near them really like them, and they work really well. And as I said, I put 2 links in for a couple of papers, one that only came out last year, looking at the impact of them on reducing crashes, speed of vehicles, etc. And there's not that much research because they're relatively new, but this research was carried out in Australasia, the 2 papers, one in, I think, Australia and New Zealand, and one in Australia. So we're looking at relevant stuff, and they really work. And I think the point of some of this stuff is that some of you may have heard, it's often used in the context of cycling more, the idea of build it and they will come. So the idea is that if you don't build infrastructure, no one will cycle. This actually works across all modes of transport. And so what we find is that if we don't provide good walking infrastructure and you don't make crossing roads feel safe, then people don't walk. So what's likely to happen here is you'll see more people walking, you'll see more parents letting their kids walk to school. You've also got the hospital nearby as well. So it's a really important crossing. And that's the main reason I wanted to comment. The other thing, I just want to make one other comment. There may be, because we're going to slow traffic down more, there may be potentially an increase in emissions from traffic. But I suspect, and it's really difficult to measure this, that will be offset by the increase in people choosing to walk. So there might be, by slowing traffic down and then it having to accelerate and brake, you may increase emissions of existing vehicles. But I suspect, and I said it's very difficult to measure this, that the increase in people choosing to let their kids walk to school, generally walking at other times, that will offset that. So I suspect there won't be an increase. And finally, just that what we know in transport is it is about creating choices for people. We're not trying to stop people driving down that road or anything like that. It is about saying, let's try and create good choices. Let's try and create walking as a really safe, not just safe, but perceived to be safe, so that people actually feel that it's safe crossing the street. And raised platforms are a really good part of that. So that was the main thing I wanted to talk about, just about the raised platforms.
Okay. Thank you for that, Simon. So I'm assuming obviously everything else within that particular item you're comfortable with?
Yeah. It was just this point because I know that there has been some antagonism, some bad publicity in the media about the raised platforms particularly. I'm assuming from the report that it looks like it's mainly going to be, the council recommendation is to accept, but I really wanted to comment on the raised platform part of it.
Yeah, no, thank you for that, Simon. I'll ask if there are any questions for Simon. Oh, yes, sure. I see your hands up.
Yeah, quick one. I understand there are two types of raised platforms. One is liked and the other isn't liked. Can you elaborate what the differences are?
I'd say I'm not an engineer, so I'm not able to comment too much on that. If I were you, I'd ask someone like Shane Turner, who's in your community or councillor. The idea of the raised platform, though, is you want to make people slow down, because we know when you don't put the raised platform, people just sometimes, unfortunately, go very fast across them, and they don't, and sometimes they ignore them. But a raised platform makes people slow. So I'm sorry, I can't answer that. I'm not an engineer, and that's an engineer's question, Shirish. Sorry.
Yeah, okay, cool. Thank you for that, Simon. Any other questions for Simon? Yes, Aaron.
Yeah, Simon, did you see the submission from the fire service? So
I'm not sure. I looked through them. I imagine they're saying it will slow them down. Is that what they're saying?
Yeah.
And it might.
Yeah, so all the emergency services are saying that they will affect their response time. So as we increase the number of platforms across the city, don't expect fire, ambulance and police to turn up as quickly as they could have.
Yeah.
Aaron,
I guess what I'd say to that, and I can understand them saying that, what I'd probably say is that if we can get, if this is a tool to get more people walking, and some of the other things council are looking at is to get more people cycling, you would expect accident rates to go down, and then you would expect less call-outs. Now, that's difficult to measure as well, but I think if we don't start doing some of this stuff, we're going to just incentivize people to drive, and when you incentivize more people to drive, you get more crashes, and the number of crashes has gone up the last, it went down for 2 years during COVID, but it's basically going up again, very sadly, for the last decade. So I guess if we can reduce crashes, we reduce the need for some of those. You're right, there are other ones. I suspect it'll be relatively small increases. And I understand your point now, and I understand their point.
Yeah, especially the police cars aren't made for them. They're bought. It's a European car that doesn't suit them. Yeah, but hopefully it will slow down the number of kids stealing cars and doing ram raids.
That's the other side of the equation, Aaron. Yeah, fair point.
Okay. Simon, are there any other questions before I ask Simon one?
No.
So Simon, I appreciate your great articulation on the speed, the raised platform. Are there any other alternatives that you see that you would be open to if we were to look and explore other alternatives apart from the raised platform, just out of curiosity?
As I said, I'm not an engineer, and I tend to, I guess, lean on the engineers for those sorts of things. But I think the key thing is you've got to make people feel safe.
Yeah.
And that does mean that you have to somehow guarantee cars will slow down. And we now know that they don't slow down for things like zebra crossings, unfortunately. And they certainly don't slow down for things like islands where you just assume people are going to make a dash for it. So anything that can slow vehicles down
Right.
And accepting Aaron's comment, but we're trying to make the city safer for people to walk and cycle, particularly
so-
walking in this context.
Yeah, so safety is the ultimate concern here for you.
It is for this thing. There are, of course, multiple outcomes that we're trying to achieve, but in the context of raised platforms, the big one there is safety.
Yeah, okay. All right. Any other questions for Simon? Yes, Aaron.
So with the, because I'm supportive of the traffic lights, the traffic lights there, just a red light, is that not safe enough to get people to stop? Because if they're going to go through, whether there's an island there or not, it's still not going to be a pleasant ending. Obviously, they'll be going slow when you get run over, but the issue is people going through a red light.
I think what we've seen in other places, that the raised platform is the thing that does ultimately slow people down a bit more. And you know, we've had examples on Brougham Street, and I think it's Brougham Street, where we've had people going across red lights, and the islands slow them down. So I think that, you know, and again, I do lead on the engineers, and I'm leaning on what the research says. It says they are safer with raised platforms.
Yeah, well, you're limited to about 20k. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, you have to slow down.
Yep, and that's what works. We also know, Aaron, and I guess the other point is that if you're hit by a vehicle, I mean, we don't want to think about this, but if you're hit by a vehicle going 20k, you've got a 90% chance of surviving. If you're hit by a vehicle going 50k, you basically had it. So we're just trying to maximize the chances of people slowing down. And it is about perceived safety as well. And if you can get more people walking, you increase visibility, you get people out of their cars, and all those other things that are beneficial as well.
Right. So, because there is the other argument that we should just punish the people that run red lights and even hit people a lot more, because that would, you know, if it was say it was a $10,000 fine for hitting a pedestrian, plus you lost your car, plus you lost your license for 5 years. I think people would really seriously look at pedestrian crossings as they come towards them, because punishment outweighs the crime.
Interesting, Aaron, there's a lot of work at the moment. The ministry is doing some work on changing fines. And one of the big problems they've got is that for some people, a $10,000 fine isn't a big deal. And even losing the license for 5 years isn't. The problem is that the people for whom it is a big deal are the people who are already marginalized in society. So big fines and banning people from driving might not bother some of us, but it certainly bothers people on low incomes who rely on their cars for jobs. So I totally understand where you're coming from, but the whole equity issue in how much you penalize people and fine people becomes really complicated when you think about how do you deal with people on low incomes.
Oh yeah,
so
we'll submit it on that as a council, and automatically it should just be a percentage of income. Would make sense. So if someone's on $1 million a year, 20% of their income would really hurt.
And politically, there is a lot of opposition to that approach. I mean, we're going on to a slightly different issue here, but the whole thing about size of fines is really complicated. And I totally understand where you're coming from, but it's a lot simpler to say that than actually implement it because of social equity issues and how you manage that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, thank you for that, Simon. So Simon, I'm conscious we have gone just slightly over the 10 minutes, but it's the points you raise are received. And when we get to item 7, we'll be asking staff some of those questions surrounding engineering and that sort of thing. But what we're going to do is, as you know, I'll complete deputations and we'll jump back to public forum. Yeah. So we've also got another deputation, and we have Lisa. Lisa Goodman, is Lisa Goodman? Oh, hi there, Lisa. So if you would like to just take a seat at the end of the table. So again, similar, it's 10 minutes, and that includes questions.
Thank you, everyone. Yes, I'm Lisa Goodman, and I live at 79 Idris Road, which your agenda item 8 is addressing tonight. No stopping restrictions. I will be brief. I essentially just want to make ask a question and make an observation. But a little bit of context first, I guess. And so I live with my partner, Stu, and we received a consultation letter from staff last year. It was pretty simple and straightforward. A parent had raised an issue of concern about child safety when crossing the pedestrian refuge that's almost at the corner of Jeffreys and Idris Road, because of the risk being a lack of visibility due to cars parked outside our house and our neighbour's house on the corner of Jeffreys Road. And so we responded, we noted that there is a shortage of parking in the area, and the loss of those spaces will put further pressure on any parking spaces further down the road. So I'm not sure you've seen the map attached to this report, but you know, there's parking restrictions across the road, around the corner, and when you take into account driveways next to our house and a fire hydrant, parking is further pushed down the road. Now, that said, child safety is critical. It's really important. So we supported initiatives that promoted child safety, absolutely. But we felt no argument had been put forward in that initial consultation letter that this was a risk to all parts of the population 24 hours a day. And we put forward a couple of suggestions, and staff have investigated one of those suggestions, but not the other. So look, I see we do feel still it is a bit of a long bow to draw that this poses a risk to everyone in the community 24 hours a day. And our second option that we suggested staff explore was whether or not we could have a restricted parking hours during the day, not just school hours, but during the weekends, because young children do like to get out and about as well, perhaps from 8 at night till 8 in the morning, for example. And in that way, we could still use the car park for visitors overnight. We do receive a few, including elderly parents. And, you know, there's an issue of security of their car because we're on a busy road. Cars have been broken into further up Idris Road. We're a bit of a thoroughfare for the Mirrorvale traffic coming home from the pub sometimes. So in the interest of security and ease of access for our visitors, we were hoping that space could still be kept free for evening hours, for example, 8 till 8. So no parking restriction to apply during the day, but for residents to be, well, anyone actually to be able to use that car space in those evening hours. And I've picked up from the staff report, there is an emphasis on more pedestrians rather than just children. There's 5.6 crossing well used by elderly people. I haven't observed that in the 7 years I've lived there. The church has been deconsecrated. I would suggest, apart from children, there's no other sector of the local population that use the crossing more than others. It may well be that there is a standard for the visibility, and staff haven't mentioned that in the report or a direct reference. So it would be really good, useful to know that if that's to apply to all members of the community, not just children. So that would put it to bed in our minds whether or not we could or could not have that no stopping restriction for the daytime hours only, and us still being able, and our neighbours, I should say, it's not just us, still being able to use that space outside. So that was the question, if that option had been explored. Although, as I said, I suspect the answer is going to be because it's not just children, it's the wider community. There is, regardless of what you decided today in terms of the staff recommendation, there is certainly for us, my partner and I, there's a wider issue here of safety. This pedestrian refuge is at the corner of an incredibly busy intersection. So we've observed, I work part-time at home, so I'm a contractor working at home. So I'm in and out of the property all day. And so since the consultation letter came out last year, I've been watching the refuge like a hawk whenever I do go in and out, and often during the busy peak times of school rush. And it seems that people trying to cross from the other side, from the eastern side of Jeffreys Road, trying to cross to the western side of Idris Road, it's really problematic. You've got traffic turning left from Jeffreys Road. You've got traffic barrelling down from Idris Road from the north. It's almost a blind corner, not quite, but almost. And then you've got traffic turning right from Jeffreys Road. And I have seen a number of instances with children, older children on their own, or parents with smaller children really struggling getting across that road at ease without, cars pulling on the brakes or tooting. It's really quite a scary thing to see, people trying to cross there. So we think the refuge is in the wrong place completely. Very expensive to shift the pedestrian refuge, of course. So we would certainly support any initiatives to improve that refuge. I know there have been suggestions made as part of this consultation process. But we actually think changes need to be made really quickly. There's a reference in the report about speed management plan, and there's going to be a 30k limit to the area introduced in this financial year. If that's the case, could I urge you to introduce it really quickly? Having said that, I'm not an engineer. I don't know if that would make much of an impact, given all those factors at play. It could well be the refuge is in the wrong place. So that's our observation, and that's all I've got to say today. Thank you. But look, we certainly support any initiatives to support child safety. We just feel it's a bit of a long-voted rule that this poses a significant risk to all members of the community 24 hours of the day.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you for your presentation. We have a bit of time for questions. I see James has one.
Thank you very much, Lisa. Great submission. Not that that surprises me, but and also incredibly familiar with this refuge as well. My wife family used this multiple times, over this last Easter break. I totally agree with you. The issue is actually the traffic coming northbound or southbound from the north is where it's the blind corner. So I agree with everything you've said. Question from me really is, if failing the time limited restriction, if that weren't an option, we obviously have to traverse that with staff, but would your preference be, would you rather that the proposed no stopping restriction was just declined if the middle ground option of the time limited one wasn't possible?
I'm sorry, Jamie, what was
just sorry, I've said that bad. I'm basically saying if the time limited restriction, like you're saying, should be considered.
our suggestion, right?
Suggestion, if that wasn't a possibility, would your next preferred option just be that be declined?
Well,
just so in terms of
the staff recommendation.
staff recommendation.
No, then there needs to be some. We can see that for young children there is a current risk. How significant that risk is, we're not in a position to say. We've lived there for 7 years. We're not aware of any issues previously. We're not aware of any concern. There could be, however, since this issue has been raised, I don't know. Where we started, it was the concern that one parent had raised, but we can see that when you've got the cars there, what an adult can do, what I can do, I can look over the cars. I can see the traffic coming, or I can step back. I've seen older children, maybe about 12, 13-year-old. I've seen them step back, look, I can't see any. There's actually quite a bit of visibility after the second parked car. There's our driveway, then there's a long driveway, and then there's a bit of a gap before the residents at 79, I think, can park because there's the fire hydrant on the road. So there is a gap there for visibility. But I can certainly see if it's the advice of staff that it poses a risk to children. We can see how it could. So I think the do nothing option, it probably isn't desirable in this case. We can see there's risks all over that refuge for a start.
Yes, so I guess just for real clarity on that, and I do know what you're saying, but it's if it were a binary option really of approve the staff recommendation or not. The preference spot would be that you do it.
Well, yeah, I can't say that we wouldn't support an initiative to improve or enhance child safety. I can't say that.
Okay, I guess we just need to tease out then. So thank you for that. It was really good.
Thanks, Lisa. We've probably got time for one more question. Okay. That's right. Well, what we'll do, Lisa, is when we do get that item, we'll have a chat with staff around what alternatives look like. Obviously, we want to flesh that out when we get to discuss it. But you're welcome to take a seat back. Thank you so much for your for your presentation. And we're going to jump back to public forum, just because I'm conscious we have some people in the gallery that would like to speak to an item. And that's the beauty of public forum. It gives an opportunity for members of the public to raise concerns about issues that are happening in their community. So I'm now going to ask Tony, who is a representative of Chateau Drive, to come to the table. So Tony, with public forum, you might have heard it before, we've got 5 minutes. We aren't in a position to make any decisions, but it's your opportunity to raise concerns that you have with the issue that you'd like to address.
Thank you, Madam Chair and councillors. Well, appreciate the time and appreciate you taking us without supposedly a booking. But we have, as residents in Shadow Drive, been endeavouring to provide information to the council for probably the best part of 2 years. And our concern has been over a number of trees in the street, particularly in the cul-de-sac end of the street. And if I was to be more specific, there are 8 silver birch trees in that area. And I'm sure that the councillors around the table, judging by the eyebrows and the smiles, have come across the situation before. Frankly, the 8 trees in that street are creating a health and safety concern that we have. If you were to take the time to walk around the cul-de-sac, you'd need to be very careful where you are walking. There are humps in the pavement, and I'm looking at your name badges here, and some of these humps are probably just over the height of that, and we're very sharp in terms of gradient. And we have had a number of reports of elderly, stumbling on those. It's only a matter of time before somebody actually has a very bad accident. Secondly, these same silver birch trees are causing some quite significant damage to some of the curb and channel. And whilst the above ground damage is very conspicuous, I guess what we don't know, and I suspect is probably happening, is that below ground there's a disaster waiting to happen, and we'd rather not have that happen, of course. So first and foremost, it's a real health and safety issue. I mean, it's quite a it's on the planned route for many elderly who are in the area who walk around. They come from the Ilam Road end of the street. They come through Jelly Park, and the cul-de-sac seems to be on the walking tour. So it's only a matter of time, as I say, before we have a major accident. And secondly, there's this curb and channel damage. If there's a third reason, there are some residents who have expressed concern about their personal health. We have a lot of retired people, myself and my wife included. We end up, unfortunately, we're very lucky. We go to the Marlborough Sounds quite often. We come back, my wife suffers sort of various asthmatic type conditions, and she knows that when she gets back here, those symptoms are actually increased from where we were in the Marlborough Sounds. So, the answer is quite simple. Leave it as it is, and it's only a matter of time before somebody is going to be knocking on your door, with a major problem that they've tripped over, broken this, or who knows, or alternatively, you're going to have a major sort of infrastructure problem. Interesting enough, 1 or 2 of the residents have been there when the arborists have been out inspecting the trees, which they've done a very good job of. I think you're privy to a report which was put in. The good news is they say all the trees are in great shape, which is wonderful. And it's probably because they are in great shape that they're doing the damage that they're doing to both the pavement and obviously the infrastructure. So the arborist, I think in that report, has recommended a couple of trees be removed. One which has made a significant damage to the curb and channel, and one which appears to be maybe a traffic issue for somebody coming in and out of their driveway. Sadly, the other 6 trees, which are causing problems to the pavement, and probably in the future, curb and channel, are not mentioned, you know. It seems a wee bit ridiculous in many ways. For what it's worth, I took the liberty and I contacted a tree service who just happened to be working across the road from me. And I said, look, give us an idea of what it would cost to take these 6 trees or 8 trees out. And they actually gave me a quote, which I said, look, I only wanted a quote just as give an example. And for less than $5,000, all 8 trees can be removed and stump munched. And I would have thought that's a pretty good deal if council was to consider that versus the infrastructure damage, which is likely to be happening continuously over the coming years. I've lived there for 5 years and I've seen the damage to the pavement, to the curb and channel progress significantly. It's not going to stop because your arborist has said the trees are all healthy. You know, they're doing really well. So, you know, common sense says that, you know, do something before it becomes a really major problem. So look, that's all I wanted to say. Having said that, I've got my wife and I've got one of the other residents here. I don't know whether, Madam Chair, whether it be possible if they wish to speak, just a couple of comments.
Yeah, well, I mean, we are up to the 5 minutes.
Okay.
I do want to say though, Tony, you've made your points really, really clear. As a fantastic public forum presentation. And one of the things I just want to raise is you can also have another opportunity to speak to this, and that could be a chance to hear from other people who are impacted. The reason for it is because the report on the trees, our report's coming, should be coming to the board soon, and it should be on our agenda for next month. And that's going to be an opportunity for the board to make a decision on the trees. We expected this to be in the agenda, but unfortunately, staff have come down sick, and we weren't able to have it on the agenda today. So, so when it comes to the board, hopefully next month, you're welcome to come back and have another opportunity to speak to these points and give opportunity for other people to speak to the issues of the trees as well.
Do you want a formalised written submission from the residents?
I mean, yeah, that would be great, because I mean, that information can be, we can take that information into consideration when the decision comes to the board next month, hopefully.
Can staff liaise with residents there just to make sure they have the documentation process for their next board meeting as well?
Can that be possible? Yeah. Awesome. Yeah.
Would it be easier again if we had a whip around and we came here with a check to council?
Never say no.
You've done your due diligence and that's really impressive. So whatever you feel like would feed into your case is always helpful. Yeah.
Fine.
That would be great. So thank you so much, Tony, for your time.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming. So this is what public forum's all about. So yeah, so you'll be hearing from staff around what the process is should you want to speak to the issue again next time. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So just getting back to the feed again, we've gone through public forum, we have gone through deputations by appointment. Yeah, so just to clarify, the trees, no decisions being made about the trees today. So you're welcome to you don't have to stay for the rest of the meeting now. Item number 6, presentation of petitions. There were none, thank you. Which brings us to staff reports. So item 7, Heaton street safety improvement. And Gemma. What did you? Oh, and yeah,
And Tessa's here for the engagement.
Hello. Great. You're welcome to speak to item 7.
Yes, so we came and briefed the board and then we took our plans out for consultation. And I think I'll just let Tessa give a quick run over of submissions, if that's all right.
I need the report in front of me now. I mean, I think the report that Crystal has prepared for you, so she's a member of my team that completed the consultation, is very, very thorough, and it goes into some of the statistical analysis there. I had a good chat with her before, sorry, she is on leave tonight, but I think one of the key takeaways is really the groundswell of support, particularly from the school community. Of the 184 submissions that we received, there were, in terms of a safety an issue, we had 78% who felt that it was. There was a direct correlation with those who thought that it wasn't an issue, and perhaps a little bit of negativity about the project in general. In terms of, did people think that signals would improve, or the proposed signals would improve safety of the road? It actually went up to 89%. So interestingly, even some of those people who said that they felt that safety wasn't an issue there, they acknowledged that there was still room to be made, you know, improvements to be made by introducing those features. The other thing I would like to add is in terms of feedback from the school themselves. We did do a lot of early engagement, door knocking, people who were directly affected by some of the features proposed, and also working directly with the schools. They actually, they felt that they shouldn't have to, that this should not necessarily be something that is subject to further work and consultation. That it was such an important safety feature that it should have just been put in. So their submission was very brief and to the point, and I think spoke to that fact of don't really understand why we have to go through this process. So I just wanted to express that on their behalf tonight. But yeah, there was a lot of really good pre-engagement with St George's, who are down there as well, and they were by and large supportive. Jim, I don't know if you would like to speak to emergency services. Shall I leave that with you and some of those conversations that have been had since this project?
Yes,
Okay.
so we have kind of formed a small working group with emergency services and first responders. We have talked to them about, I guess, in Waka Kotahi were in that discussion as well, about Road to Zero and council's own goals of reducing death and serious injury on the network. And the police and St John's were very keen to kind of express support for things that will actually reduce death and serious injury on the network. The police are doing some work around their vehicle fleet. And so with Fens, their concern was because their vehicles are heavier. So they are looking at GPS units on board, looking at the general routes that they take, and then we'll meet again to overlay our road safety program with their kind of emergency routes. It's also been pushed up nationally because obviously Fens isn't just limited to Christchurch. And so Waka Kotahi will be discussing this and the broader Road to Zero package with the emergency services other than the police. The police are a partner to that policy. So kind of they're signed up to it, but they hadn't, the Fens weren't a key stakeholder to Waka Kotahi. So that those discussions are being held nationally. And we're also aware of some work that was done in Auckland on response times. And the initial findings were that there wasn't a huge increase at all in putting in race safety platforms on response times.
But I think that just to go back to the point that you made around establishing what those key routes are, particularly for Fens. So we have a similar heavy haulage, for example. We know what routes they like to use, and there's a trigger when we are doing anything on those road corridors. We know we really need to consider their vehicles. So by Fens establishing a similar map for us, that will help us preempt any issues that they might have and go to them very early in the piece to talk about any changes to those routes.
Yeah. Oh, well, I will open the floor for any questions. Yes, I see Aaron and then David.
So on the questions, do you think pedestrian safety is an issue on Heaton Street? That's a bit of a no-brainer for most people. They're going to support that. Do you think signalised crossings? Most people supported that. Really clear. Why do we not ask on the platform? Do you think putting in a raised platform will make it safer? And there should probably be an end there with that as well. But why did we not ask that?
So I think from an infrastructure perspective, we've put in signalised crossings before, and we know that we do have issues at some. Even through these submissions here, people raised their concerns around the new one on Crampford Street. And crash data does show that there have been 2 red light running crashes by a child and a mobility wheelchair user was hit by someone traveling through red lights. So I guess we're just trying to up our game in terms of pedestrian safety. And it's kind of like the 4-star, 5-star safety car. You know that with the seat belts and the airbags together, they offer a higher level of safety to the user. The crossing, having it signalized and with a raised safety platform is kind of moving towards that 4 or 5-star safety road, I guess.
So it doesn't answer the question.
Yeah.
Why did we not put that question in?
I guess fundamentally, we wouldn't want to keep putting in signalized crossings when we know that there's a safer option. So the package together is what we wanted to ask the public about.
If I can.
If you want to.
So are you advocating lights, raised platform, or lights and platform?
Lights and platform.
So in this case, again, why was that not specified as being, because I believe, and some of the submissions, the replies to the submission, the consultation here, dictate and ask actually that question. They're happy for the lights, but not happy for a raised platform.
Yeah.
You as the people who are specialists in this area of going consultation failed to ask that question.
I don't think we
Well, you didn't ask that
We
question.
didn't ask that specific question. We asked if the signals with the platform, I guess that we were promoting as well at
We
the same
have the
time.
gentleman who advises Wakataki or Transport New Zealand saying that they are a brand new thing. We've got one example, that potentially 2 examples in the city. How many residents do you think that here, particularly students of a young age, actually understand and can quantify the difference between a raised platform and lights?
So for the children in particular, the school children, a lot of those submissions were in person. So our staff were there able to actually talk them through what the proposals were.
Coming back to the question, why did we not
So
give people the chance?
yeah, so I would be happy to ask that question in the future. I think the fact that only 13 people said that they were unhappy with the platform speaks to itself out of 184.
Making the
So of
assumption
those-
that those people understood.
I
You're putting
totally-
the cart before the horse.
I totally agree with you in terms of we are having to make an assumption because the question wasn't asked.
It's not acceptable.
However, you also cannot make any assumptions in the other direction.
I think we can.
So of the 171 people who were positive about the project,
Yep.
none of them chose to say, well, I take that back. Very few of them, of the 171 people who were positive about the project, they did not say, I like the project except for X. And we find when we do consultations in other areas, people are very happy to say, I support this, but there are certain features that I'm not happy about.
Except for the one submission, the gentleman who asked, why did you not ask that question?
But going
So you're
forward,
wrong.
if that is something that the board would like to advocate for, that we include that question, I am very, very comfortable doing that.
In how many responses then did people say they like the lights and the raised platform as opposed to saying the lights?
So you will have noticed, I'm going to assume that you have read the submissions. People tend to not be that specific.
Correct, because we didn't get the opportunity, and I believe there is a fair amount of negligence on our behalf in not explaining that a raised platform is going to be introduced.
Oh, no, we definitely explained that a raised platform will be introduced.
Do you believe that the significant population understand what a raised platform is, given that it's new technology?
No, I do. I think speed humps have been used for a very
This isn't
long
a speed hump.
time.
This is
No,
raised
I
platform.
understand. But raised features have been used for long enough that I think people understand when you talk about raising the intersection, the crossing, that they would understand that that means elevated off the road.
I think, thanks for that, David. I think your points have been made. I'm going to just throw to Jason now.
Cool. Just in terms of, I understand the concept of the raised platform, some people down, all that kind of stuff. How raised is the raised platform, and is there any information on? Because I can think of just in the same neck of the woods, so Hartley Ave, for example, there's raised platforms that they use to slow traffic down busy streets that are like smaller, and they still serve the purpose of slowing people down, as opposed to like what's the one down on Lincoln Road, which is really raised, like, are we at the Lincoln Road end? Are we somewhere in the middle? Is there like room to move between, how raised does it have to be to serve the purpose without it being Mount Everest? Like, is there any kind of guidance on that?
Yeah, so it's between 75 and 100 millimeters.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's our standard platform that you'd see around Christchurch is about 75.
Yeah.
And I think Lincoln Road at certain points is just over 100.
Yeah, and so do we have any, like, it might have been in here, I might have missed it. Do we know what we're aiming for in this particular example in terms of how raised that's going to be?
In this example, we were proposing 100 mil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a replication of the link. Yeah, so is there room, like, do we know what impact on slowing people down the difference would be if we say, well, hey, can we take it down to the 75 end, because some people weren't particularly happy with that, if that would have a material impact on the slowing down of people? Like, is there a middle ground there that we can look at?
Yeah, so it's not just about the height of the platforms, it's about the ramp approaches as well.
Yeah.
And so we could make those slightly longer, we can reduce the grade of them, but still achieve the 100 mil.
Yeah.
Because then we can achieve the flush surface for people in like wheelchairs and using prams, so they get a flush surface across.
And for big, heavy, long vehicles or lower vehicles, like services vehicles and things like that, a slightly higher, a longer gradient kind of assists them as opposed to the real sharp, gnarly ones, right?
Yes, they would, but we wouldn't want to go too flat because
No, then
we might get this.
yeah, exactly, yeah.
The question I have is so you know the raised sort of hubs or platforms that are at the roundabout of Centaurus Road, what gradient are they?
The proposed ones.
Oh, I think they're already in there.
Oh, so Albert, near the mobile petrol
Yeah,
station,
yeah.
so they're 75 mil.
Yeah. So would they not do the trick in this situation?
So yes, we would, it's just kind of a longer version of that, so we can have enough room on the top for people actually crossing the road.
So, okay, but it's longer, but this that we're proposing is 100 gradient, so it would be steeper. So there's that more of that force required, or not force, but we're trying to limit people from flying over them. But it would be more, it's more of a dramatic hump than what is in Centaurus.
Yes, it could be, but it comes down to that real design of the grade. So we don't want the abruptness of Lincoln Road,
right? Okay.
But we just want something a little bit more than the humps that you've seen out.
Got it. So we're not. So maybe it's important to just know that what is proposed here, to get it out of everyone's minds, is it's not a Lincoln Road. What do we call it? Steepness. It is something that will be. Is it going to? So would you say it's going to be uniquely designed to?
Yeah, so we could even bring the detailed design back here for you to see, like in 3D, if that was to help through that process.
Some comparisons with Power, Lincoln Road, Centaurus.
Well, yeah, well, that's my question, but I'll throw to Aaron now.
So what speed do you want the cars going over the platform or through the crossing?
Ideally,
admittedly, when no one's crossing.
Yeah, ideally 30 kilometres an hour.
30?
Yeah. Right,
okay. So why was it just half the time Heaton Street's not going much over 30? Why wouldn't Heaton Street just be a 30k an hour road, one of those ones going forward?
So it
just for that section from one set of lights to the other.
So it will have a variable speed limit during school times, it's 30. And it's outside of those times when you've still got people trying to cross the road for the bus stops, the hospital. There's activity at weekends because of the park, and people do park their cars that far away and walk. So it's just having, I guess, a safety, an extra safety buffer in the program.
Right, but if that one block from Waireki through to Papanui was 30k, wouldn't that just achieve the?
I think we're then just relying on drivers to comply, and we know that compliance is an issue for both vehicle speeds, red light running. And having the safety platform with the signals means that it just makes it safer at all times.
And then finally, if the way you kind of explain safety and its importance and pedestrian crossings and lights, it would feel like all light upgrades going forward are going to have platforms. So we're going to platform the entire city, because essentially you can run over anyone at any intersection anywhere. They're not going to just be run over at Heaton Street.
No.
We spread them around.
Yep, so high-risk locations would be where we'd be looking.
This
But
currently
there's
isn't a high risk though. This is just,
But because we've got school children there, it is. Because they're
okay, so
cognitive
that
behavior,
means we need platforms outside of every single school.
possibly. And the school were very
Leaving
keen on the
some
slower
board
speed.
opinion on
No, I'm
others.
not saying that. So any school should have,
Well.
when it
it's-
comes to child safety or
Yeah.
even any pedestrian safety, trying to slow people down, drivers in particular, means that there'll be a bit of crash occur.
Yeah, which I totally agree with, but it's incredibly frustrating having been elected for a dozen or so years and having Waka Kotahi can constantly not adopt a set speed limit outside of all schools. Like, this just makes no sense that, and of course, that would make more sense that all schools were that speed all the time and we blitzed it with cops. Bump the fine, $1,000, every car doing 32K, 33, just, it would stop really quickly, the behaviour would change. But all of these platforms are 24/7. And
So
that,
I guess as part of the bigger program,
Yeah.
like we are, I guess, pushing to Waka Kotahi to look at things like safety cameras because they're going to be taking them over from the police
Yeah.
and that kind of national level stuff that Simon was talking about, fines. I guess council are just doing what they've got control over at the minute and advocating back up the chain to say,
Right.
actually, we need more in our safety program because we don't want race safety platforms at every intersection. And there are secondary treatments such as cameras that we can use, but we just don't have control over them.
Right.
So we are pushing it
makes
back up.
sense. Thank you.
The other question I was going to ask is, oh my gosh, I've lost my train of thought, but no, I'm going to keep, okay, what was it? It was, no, I know, sorry, I've just come from a funeral, so my head's a bit in a mess. With the, so what's the oh, that's right, I was going to ask, when are the new speed measures going to be put down the street? When will they come into play?
So we're still waiting for our hearings panels on the Safer Speeds program. I think we had around 300 people that indicated that they wanted to speak.
We've
So
got
we're
it down to
just-
100.
Yeah, so we're still just working through that process.
Yeah. So it will still need to go through a process and then it will still need to go through an approval process. So the speed changes may or may not happen.
I'd say now this is just, best guess, but probably the earliest we're going to see those speed changes.
Yeah.
The approval process would be about 3.5 to 4 months because of that many people wanting to be
Yeah,
heard isn't going
right.
to happen overnight.
Yeah, of course,
Yeah.
of course.
Yeah.
So my point is, what I'm trying to ask is, if we have these new speed changes happening down that street, if we were to go through with installing the lights, is there a possibility to wait, see if the behavior changes, see what is, see the whether the positive impacts that come through around safety, and then look at options around whether we need to add in a speed hump at whatever degree is appropriate.
Yeah. I think it's just additional cost to council. So putting the platform in now is a kind of a low cost because we're already there doing civil works. Whereas if we wanted to come back and do the platform, it's a lot more cost around traffic management, re-leveling curbs because of the way the platform sits in the road. We want it nice and flush for people kind of in wheelchairs and using prams.
Yeah.
So if we had to come back and do the raised bit, it's going to be a lot more expensive.
There's also the community impact. It's 2 rounds of quite hefty construction.
I guess the other argument to make is it's also if it doesn't work, then you can't. It's easier to it's harder to get rid of that infrastructure, right? I'm just trying to come up with what are alternatives to sort of do this in a staged approach to see whether it's necessary. Okay. Any other questions to staff? All right. Well, we have the recommendation that staff have put to us. So, is there anyone that would like to move the recommendation, or is there anyone that would like to suggest an alternative to the recommendation?
I'm happy to move a recommendation of the lights no platform.
Okay. Recommendation. So that would be an amended resolution.
Yes.
Would you, is there Okay, I'm just gonna what do we call this? Are we now in? No, we're not in debate. Would you be open to getting information from staff around what the raised platform could look like?
No, I'm uncomfortable with raised platforms full stop in this particular location.
Okay. Is there anyone else that has an alternative?
Can we just get that wording up on?
Yeah, okay.
On the screen.
So that would be, okay. Oh, is it possible to show it on the screen, Amy?
Yes. Really?
We're just finding it in the resolution and then we're going to put it up on the screen so we can all see the wording.
Yeah. Yeah, it's important. I'll say that's not too good. Because this is slightly different. It's all things. We just check some stuff.
Because we're talking about doing them by.
One community board area, yeah, the three councillors for each.
Wonder if
No, but I can find out and.
just to know, just out of
That'll be easy.
I think we're going to do it here, won't we?
Yeah.
Did you get the resolution with Megan?
No.
Yeah, I thought it was inconclusive.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound like us at all.
I think you were going to come back with numbers proposed.
Yeah, I think she got the hand too. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Just like that. It's a long time going back to the middle.
It makes no sense to make everyone sit through every single.
Sorry.
And it's minutiae. Some people talked about the whole city, but.
Oh,
No, it's right. All right, so here's the recommendation here. So we're just going to be tweaking it slightly. You've done it already, excluding the raised safety platforms.
So that's the part that you have delegation for.
Yeah.
And then there's a separate bit for recommending to council. This council has agreed the lights and the special legal lanes.
Yeah, okay.
So
it could be overturned at council.
Yes. So
trade-off.
resolutions 1 and 2 are part A and the rest of it is your delegation. So
yeah.
And number 2 is the raised platform.
Okay. But we can still make that change, can't we? And
yes.
Yeah. All right. So there are the other, just so everyone's aware. So there's 1 to 7 of those, no, not 1 to 7, 1 to 9 of the recommendations. But it sounds as though if I'm all comfortable with that. It's really just the raise platform. And I think there's been a lot of information around why it is a concern. But is there anything else, David, that you'd like to speak to around that?
Thank you.
Okay. Well, we have the amendment there. Is there anything else we need to do around it? Yeah, I'm going. That would help. So we have a mover for David and it's that second by Aaron. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Any against?
No.
You're okay. You're against?
And there was one on.
And there was one online. Who was the one online? Sharish, was that you or was that Linda who were against it?
No, I was supportive of it.
Okay.
Just delayed.
All right. Yeah. Okay.
Did you want your vote recorded, Jason?
No, it's fine.
All those, no, we've done that, haven't we? So that was passed. All right, so carried. So thank you for that. Thanks for your time on this. It's exciting if we could get these lights through. Thank you. All right, so moving on to item number 8.
You'll probably get your platform.
All right, we have Idris Road. Georgia.
So team.
There we go, Tim.
Welcome to the table, Georgia. So if you want to take us through Idris Road, that would be great.
Yeah. So it was raised from a parent, student at the school, that the crossing was unsafe. Who've investigated no stopping restrictions to be extended at the refuge. We did look into just extending it one car instead of two, but that didn't meet the safety requirements. So yeah, we're still recommending the full amount to be removed. Yeah.
Okay. We've got some questions. Both Aaron.
So the suggestion was made by some residents around having it time limited, because not many kids are crossing the road at midnight. You hope so is that, can we do that?
We can do it, but it's not like our recommended treatment.
I know it's usual, but most people around there can read fine.
Yeah, you kind of like, we have it in a few other places and we don't find that they work very well. And then you end up having two signs there, which is fine, but yeah, can look a bit funny.
When you say it doesn't work well, people park near beyond the time.
People park there in the times they're not supposed to.
Yeah. Right. What's the fine for that? Or is it a towing?
I don't know the fine, sorry.
Right.
Yeah, it could be a towing offence, yeah. It will be actually, yeah.
Yeah, because it's safety, so
Yeah.
it'll be towing. So they'll learn quickly.
Yeah, unless it's a different person every time, but yeah.
Which most likely wouldn't be.
Hopefully not.
Yeah. So would we be able to would that still work today to do that if we did the 8 to 8?
We would
Or
have
do you
to
go back and
change
rewrite the report?
we'd have to change the resolution. I'm not too sure if we can do it here today.
Might be safest to do it next month.
Yeah, I
Maybe
think that's
lay on the
better.
table until to get information around.
But yeah, I just kind of wanted to emphasize that it would be good to have them there the whole time, just so that anyone crossing at any time has visibility. Yeah. Not just during the day, but.
Right. But chances are people crossing at 11 o'clock at midnight, and that would be adults, you'd hope.
Yeah, but even adults need the required visibility as well. Yeah, it'd be safer for them to stand on the footpath instead of walking out onto the road to see around the cars.
Right.
Any other questions for Georgia? Yes. And can I, just just want to put out there for everyone, just making sure that our questions are
Fair and balanced. Yes.
Thank you.
Let's go. Some conversation earlier around the traffic island and its positioning. Any comments on that?
It's kind of like it could be moved, but there isn't really a more ideal position for it. We moved it closer to the intersection. There's a driveway on one side, and then if we went beyond that, we'd be getting too close to the intersection. If we moved it back, people would probably just start crossing there without walking down to the island. And then you'd have to have more no stopping further down anyway.
The comment about those elderly residents, was that actually seen, or because obviously there was a remark made earlier that potentially that's.
So that was just someone's response to consultation to me. So yeah, someone had said to me that elderly use the crossing throughout the day as well.
So it's what do they call it? Circumstantial.
Well, yeah, that is. I didn't see it when I was out there.
Anecdotal.
Yeah.
Unproven.
Yeah. Well,
unproven. Do we have sort of other intersections like this in our ward that potentially, sort of fit into these criteria that we would then, is this opening the floodgates to a whole lot of more cars not being allowed to park on the roads?
well, this one was kind of unusual because the no stopping kind of ended right as the refuge island ended. Usually there would be more no stopping anyway. Yeah.
That makes sense.
I've got a question. One of the residents raised a point around what is the standard of visibility? Do we have that? And
Yeah, so there's standards outlined by Wakakotahi. There's approach sight distance and crossing sight distances. So I think I had it in the report that it's not currently met, and by removing one car park, it's not currently met, but by removing both of them, we would meet both standards. Yeah. So yes, it all depends on like the crossing distance, how fast cars go, the speed limit. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, David. I see.
What's the proposed speed limit on this road come the new?
So it'll just be a variable 30.
Yes, variable thing.
Right. And follow-up question, when is that supposed to be implemented, or is it the same as what?
Yeah, it'll be that.
So we're looking at quite a few months ahead around consultation. So it won't be until like possibly, oh gosh, what year, where are we in? We're in April, like not until the end of the year, realistically, that we'll see it being implemented.
I'm not sure for the speed.
Okay.
But yeah, could be. It'll depend on the other.
But it's on the list to be changed to,
Yeah. So it's on the list to be changed to a variable 30.
Yeah, okay. All right. So any other questions for Georgia on this?
No, it sounds like we need to get that work done though for next month, doesn't it?
So you want to move, we lay it on the table?
Yeah, we want the
Either staff come back with a serious reason why we can't do it, and then we'll just go to the yellow lines. But if it can be done, then well,
like we changed some last month.
Yeah,
just be a bit more responsive to what the community needs. So I think we can do that.
Okay, so
unless we can do it now, of course, but it sounds like we probably do need to come back next month though.
Yeah.
Would that would require investigating.
Yeah, I mean it wouldn't be staff recommendation.
Yeah, I understand that. It's just that we can get a resolution that actually is capable of it.
Yeah.
Stands up.
Yeah.
I think it's exploring the option, which I guess is something that hasn't been done yet, and that
Do we need to explore the option? I mean, I'm happy to move if we're capable of moving a resolution today. I'm happy to put in what the residents suggested around 8 to 8. But if you've got, I mean, because you like you said, it's probably not going to come back as a staff recommendation, which is fair enough. I'm just thinking, is there anything we're going to gain by delaying it a month?
Well, we wouldn't have to go out for consultation again, I don't think. But yeah, I think just one other point to note is that it does, by extending the yellow lines, it would kind of help the visibility at the intersection as well. So just if you're in a car turning out of there, it would improve that too.
Yeah.
Right, it sounded like you were about to say something. No? No? Okay, all right. Well, sounds like Sam has put forward an alternative to the wording that would to a resolution for it.
I think you need an updated report with that option in it for the next meeting.
Okay.
So two options in it.
Yeah.
So one option would have the time and one wouldn't, because the staff recommendation would say, we don't recommend the time restricted, we recommend 24/7.
Yeah.
And then the alternate option would be the yellow lines with the time restriction, not recommended by staff.
Yep, and it gives staff the opportunity to
write that up
behind why they're not recommending it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Cool. Yep.
All right. So then we'll just lay on the table. Do we need a mover and seconder to lay on the table? No. Okay, then. Item 8 is on the table. So I just want to say thank you, Lisa, for coming along. You're welcome. We've dealt with that item, so you're welcome to leave for the rest of the meeting. And thank you, thanks, Georgia, for that.
Thank you.
So on to item 9. You're up again.
Yep, it's me. I've got Galpin with me as well.
Great, thank you.
And we've got Lachlan online.
Oh, kia ora, Lachlan. Feel free to unmute yourself when you're ready.
Yeah, hi, everyone.
Hi there.
Hello. Good evening, everyone. So may I start?
Yeah, cool.
So this report is regarding some safety improvements in Avonhead Road and Wood Hills Road near Burnside Park. So staff briefed the board in January 2023 regarding this one. So just a quick brief of what we are proposing. So we received feedback from members of the public and also through the community board regarding the lack of pedestrian crossing facilities around Burnside Park in this location, and also some vehicles traveling at inappropriate speeds. So as we know, Burnside Park generates heavy vehicle and foot traffic, especially on weekdays and game days. So and also based on upon measuring on site, we know that and also mentioned in the report, the crossing distances for pedestrians in this location vary between 17 to 23 meters, which is way above the NZTA recommended crossing distance in uncontrolled locations of 9 meters. So with the proposed treatment of pedestrian islands and the flush median, we feel that pedestrians will be provided with a safe crossing facility at this location, and also motor vehicles are presented with a visually narrower carriageway than it is at the moment, so which will encourage lower operating speeds around this location. So when staff briefed the board in January, the board members did ask us to consider some things. One thing being alternative location for the pedestrian crossing, that is by moving the crossing further west along Avon Head Road, as shown on the plan. We did check that, and we also did consult with the parks team, where we understand that any new paths to be put inside the park is not in their program, and currently there is unavailability of funding for that one. So the existing locations where we have already proposed, they tie in with the paths and the curb cut downs which are already present in the park. So, and there is also, we understand, a desire line for pedestrians. So we understand the currently proposed locations. I mean, we feel that the currently proposed locations would work well. And there was also another feedback regarding, according to the plan, we have also proposed some curb extensions and a median refuge in Withels Road at the intersection as well. So with this one, we and board members provided feedback that this could lead to a reduction in the lane width, thereby forcing both left turners and right turners out of Withels to come to a single file. We did check the traffic movements on site during the morning and the evening peak hours, and we noted that the number of right turners was very minimal when compared to the left turners, and also the number of instances of having a right turner and the left turner at the same time was like very, very minimal, like once or twice or something like that. So based on our observations, we understand that even if we are reducing the lane width and vehicles are forced to move in a single file, there will be very minimal to no impact to travel times and travel efficiency. So we feel that with this one, we are providing a lower crossing distance for pedestrians, safer crossing facility, and also very minimal impact to traffic efficiency as well. So yeah, these are our proposed recommendations, and these will be funded in our minor safety interventions budget. You want to add something, Georgia, regarding?
I think you've covered most of it.
But yeah, consultation was done with the nearby residents and all stakeholders, and a majority, we understand that a majority of the residents did support the plan. There were questions regarding a few other things which were unfortunately outside the scope of the project, but we did note the residents' feedback, and which will be considered as well. But yeah, a majority of the residents were understood to support the plans, and there was one feedback which indicated regarding the curve, which was raised in the briefing as well. But as we indicated at that time, we are planning to add signs to indicate the presence of a pedestrian crossing near the curve on Avon Head Road as people approach the crossing. So
that one as well, near the corner, it met both the approach site distance and the crossing site distance. So
right.
So yeah, this is the summary of the proposed treatments, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much. Thank you for looking further into this. We appreciate the added work that you've both done. So thank you for that. I'll ask if there are any questions on tape. Yes, Aaron.
Yeah, just quickly on the build outs in the islands, just with the border placements, are there going to be any issues with trucks, rubbish trucks, buses?
Like turning around?
Yeah.
We have checked the tracking as well, and it looks like for the right turn movements from Withels into Avon Head, there wouldn't be any
Yeah.
Yeah, any issues.
That's fine.
Yeah, the tracking works well, actually.
It's like Avon here doing a left into Whittles is no problem.
Yeah, I mean, as we said, like currently the width is like really very wide, like 23 meters or something. So these curb extensions are, we see that it's, I mean, we are reducing the distance, but also we understand we need to provide room for turning vehicles as well. So yeah, that works well.
Because I have seen quite a lot of stuff with belt that gets hit by trucks or buses quite often. Like they just can't get round, so they end up going over the edge all the time.
Yeah, but
it's not going to happen here.
No, yeah, because
we did have vehicle tracking done.
Yeah, now because our initial plan didn't have a thing at all, but yeah.
All right. I see, Shreesh, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, thank you. Just a few comments and or questions. So totally support the flush median and installation of the pedestrian crossing refuge. I note that at least 3 residents like me have questioned the location of the refuge. I see in the report, staff report, that you have said this is the desired line of people. Well, of course, it is the desired line of people, because when there is no planned crossing, people will cross at the shortest distance. My question to you, the staff members, is if council is investing in infrastructure to put this pedestrian refuge, should it not be at the right place? And just in the previous point about Idris and Jeffries, we noted that we should not move it closer to the intersection because it becomes too awkward there. Whereas at Withel 7 we are doing exactly the same. I went to the location yesterday. I see there is yet another point. I sent the photos to my team members. Unfortunately, I am at home today, so can't share it with you. And we also spoke about moving it further west. I understand parks may not have the budget. People walking will create the track as they have created over the last 20 years at the current point. So we don't necessarily need park money to get the right crossing point. My final thing is on Withels Road. Yes, it's a very wide road. We are already halving the width. Do we need to go further by removing one lane, which is the right turning lane? My personal preference would have been to leave it, have the pedestrian crossing, let pedestrians cross 2 lanes instead of currently the whole width of Withels Road. That's me.
Yeah. So I guess in regards to moving the crossing east, we wouldn't want to install a crossing that leads to no park. So yeah, we would need parks to do something on their end, which they aren't able to do, that's pretty much why we haven't proposed it at any other location, purely just because these 2 locations have paths on the other side to lead to. And in terms of the narrowing the crossing width at Withels Road, there wasn't really a demand for right turning, so it shouldn't be too much of an issue. And people, you pretty much end up just coming back on yourself. So yeah.
If I could just talk to that 2-lane issue coming out of Withels Road, not only does it reduce the distance that pedestrians have to cross, when you have traffic queued in 2 lanes there, you have the potential for that queued traffic to block a pedestrian. So that's one of the reasons for wanting to narrow that down to a single lane as well.
Yeah, I just have to comment that you have noted 3 vehicles turning right in a 15-minute space. I guess that was on a weekday. If you are there on a weekend or the nights when there are games on, you will probably see many more vehicles wanting to turn right at that intersection.
Yeah.
So I'm just, cautious that are we creating a problem which doesn't exist today?
I mean, like if a car does have to wait, like for a right turning vehicle to turn out, it won't be the end of the world for them. We feel like the safety benefits from installing this far outweigh the impacts on the traffic or vehicles.
I suppose we've got Avonhead Road as well, where cars can take an alternate route and come down that way and come up, which is not too much of a time adjustment, I suppose. So
and with the overall thing, like we are talking about a seconds level delay, like a few seconds or whatever level delay, which as Lachlan indicated, we are with 2 lanes, it's anyway extra risk for crossing pedestrians. So yes, and comparing that with a few seconds delay, yes, there might be during a heavy traffic, but you're talking a few seconds.
Oh, well, I've seen David's got a question. So long as it's a nice one.
In our agenda, can you please go back to the image of Idris Road?
Oh, no, it doesn't sound nice.
And if you look at the image there, so George's thing earlier, we were talking about the no stopping. You see there the design of what was the build out in the middle of that road is single lane, or it's more like 1.5 lane, then fans out to a double area. So, does that sort of make sense? Down here, just literally at the end of the road, Jeffreys Road down here.
Oh, okay.
So the design criteria for when that was built, I'm assuming is the same design criteria as is today. Safety still is, safety is still an objective now. Yet, we designed roads that allowed for functionality, for effective and efficient use, yet we are potentially proposing to make a very narrow, unusable turning, influencing or having an influence on other users. So the person that wants to turn right at that intersection will block, albeit that, I take your data to be correct in around 69 users and only 2 turning left and 2 turning right, or 46 versus 3. But those 3 drivers in a 15-minute period of time, if they don't get off or have the ability to turn, will influence the greater majority. What we're asking for is some common sense around having a funnel opened at the far end so that the design criteria, which will have been the same as Jeffreys Road as it should be today, allows for 2 cars to park. It still permits residents or pedestrians further back in the lane to cross your single lane, which is one of your driving points, which we're in agreement with, but actually it allows for 2 cars to sit at the far end, therefore not impacting and impeding the movement of the city. Can we not design it like that?
I mean, it does fan out a little bit at the end.
So, but you're not going to get 2 cars there, because you're not telling me you're not giving me confidence that there's 2 cars can sit there and turn right.
Well,
why can we not design it like that?
Well, I guess when we were out there, if a car was turning right, they turned right pretty much straight away. So if someone was waiting to turn left behind them, they aren't going to have to sit there for minutes or hours waiting for a car to turn right. There was plenty of opportunity for right turners. It was not like it's not like a major high traffic flow.
But we're putting people in a funnel. So therefore the traffic movement is going to be reduced.
Yeah.
So can we not redesign the change? And I don't suspect we can do that today. Don't know. But actually the design criteria where it's smaller at the end and have a funnel at the end. That's just simple common sense to me. But I don't know.
If I could just talk to that, sorry. I think, David, that criteria, for want of a better word, that you described that would have informed that design previously. That's the reason we're having to go back and fix up a lot of these, that they were designed around vehicles and not pedestrians. For the safety of pedestrians, it's our view that reducing it to a single lane is the best outcome.
So are you telling me that the design that I can see at the moment, that is at least one car length back from the white line, is not singular and does not meet your objective?
I can't see that, sorry.
Okay, well, did you write the report? Are you a signatory on the report?
David, sorry.
No, but if he is, then he should know the report.
Just be a quick one.
Yeah, no, sorry, David. I'm just conscious. I'm also conscious of time as well. And we've just had.
Democracy doesn't have a time, Bridget.
All right.
He wrote the report. He should be aware of what's in it.
I think what he means is you're asking him a question and he doesn't have the image right in front of him. But
I'm happy to wait for him to find the image.
David, I just want to raise a point that we've had the motion, both Sam has moved the item.
Hasn't been seconded yet, I believe.
I'm going to ask now.
But we put my question.
Would you like to second it?
No.
Right.
No, Nicola already said.
Yeah.
Already seconded up.
So I'm just getting everyone back on track again. So this is
on it in the Sahara Desert.
I will.
item 9.
It'll be my driving thing.
All right.
You threw your dark face at the end.
So item 9, and we have the staff recommendation here that was moved by Sam and Nicola. You to second?
Yes.
Great.
No cars.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any against? No, carried. Great.
That noted as
Thank you. I just think the design is wrong.
I think this one.
Not even sense of Dave when
It's not your word, it's not your word, Dave.
Yes, the design is wrong. We've inhabited cars.
No, walk down there pretty much every day. Honestly, the amount of people that turn right,
As in the-
it's literally.
But we're creating a precedent that the next design, we'll go back and think about it. It comes back to you.
I mean, if it's better for pedestrians.
I'm not saying it is.
Probably go home and look for other jobs.
I turned right.
Who else is employed right now?
Pardon me.
It's all right. I am really quite harmless.
We
The
know.
whole is mine.
We know.
Okay.
Okay. Moving on to item 9. Sorry, item 10. Item 10, Peel Street. Georgia. Hi there.
Okay.
All right. This is quite straightforward, but if you want to give us any more information on it.
I think everyone's aware of the situation.
Yeah, great. Thank you for putting all your effort into this. I'm happy to move it.
Oh, I see that.
Oh, okay. No, let Desert Dave.
All those in favour say aye.
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 Any against? No, carried. So just for the members of the gallery, this information was given to us before, so it's not like we've made a quick decision on this. We've looked into this for detail.
Yeah.
Moving on to item number 11. Georgia again.
And Galtham again. And Gemma.
And Gemma, the whole gang.
You guys have seen this one again, as well. So, sorry.
Was it able, it looks like it hasn't moved.
It's
And
moved
so it
up
could-
to a meter.
A meter.
Yes.
Right, so that's why it looks like it has.
Yeah.
Right.
What we've done is we've realigned the traffic lanes so that the car park can be retained outside the property, but we still achieve the crossing sight distance that we need to for the kids for everyone crossing the road.
So, yeah, because I went and had a look, because I go that way a few times, and it looked like we could have gone further, because my concern is that just the teenagers who are trying to save as many calories as possible, they will take the shortest route. And they're just going to diagonally go to the middle bit they're not going to come out their gate path thing, go 6 meters that way, then cross. They're just going to go like that.
We just have to be mindful that there's vehicles coming out of this entrance as well. So we do want to just push them a little bit further up, but we have to
But those
retain
vehicles coming out can only go left.
left. Yeah.
They can't hit them in any, well, they could still hit them, but.
It just kind of moves them slightly more, pedestrians slightly more to the north.
I don't understand why we need them for those vehicles coming out and moved.
Oh, sorry. So when students are coming out here and the vehicles are coming out there, they will probably end up sealing that berm in the end because they will just directly come through here. But what we don't want them is to come out here and cross because then they're in the way of the vehicles.
Right, okay.
So we wanted a minor bit of separated. Yeah.
All right.
You might as well just seal that berm straight away.
Yeah.
It'll be mud.
Cool.
Next winter.
Thank you, Darren. Any other questions?
Happy to move.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so just to be clear though, in terms of that car park we talked about last time, we didn't make a resolution on that restriction, did we? Didn't we talk about?
We just brought a new report back, so it was clearer that
So
we've
just
gone
I'm
away.
clear though, that car park is now just going to operate as per it was.
Yes.
Oh, that's a good. Cool.
That's what the reason was after.
Great work.
Even David said good work on that.
So we have, so I actually did hear Jason, he whispered happy to move. So that is Jason to move and David the second.
Happy with that.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Any against? No, carried. Great. Thank you so much. Thanks for all your work.
Thank you.
Moving on to.
Thank you, Georgia.
We have Anthony here for the willow removals. Hello.
Slightly nervous.
Don't worry.
No, you're pretty psyched. I've got good questions for you.
Oh, sorry.
Cheers.
Yeah, in your hand.
So essentially, Three Waters team have got a riverbank or streambank relining project on. So they're relining the section of Capite Creek through Inglefield Reserve, a bunch of willows through there, which are a biodiversity issue. We generally take them out.
Pretty ugly.
Well, it's beholder.
Yeah.
And we replant with native trees. So it's partly a council project, partly the Swimming Brockley Trust of funding towards this too and resources. So it's a good project. Where the confusion may sort of creep, why does the board have delegation over tree removals? And the quick answer to that is normally it's a staff delegation. If we're removing trees because they're unhealthy, but in this case, the trees are unhealthy, but we're not removing them because they're unhealthy. They're being removed because it's facilitating another council project. So it's a bit of was a bit of a grey area, but we're quite confident about that. So it's we're replacing the trees at a rate of 65 to 1, which is a lot more than we normally have to.
Yeah.
It's going to be Kakatea dominated forests in the understory. And yeah, I'm not sure. You've read the reports. I'm not sure what else I can add to that. Other than we have a planting day on the 2nd of July, my birthday. So you're all invited to my birthday.
Thank you. Thank you. What an honour.
Seeing the board and invite.
Yeah, so we've got a question from Jason.
So this question relates to the tree hut that's living in one of
Yeah.
That's right. Will that be a tree that'll be removed? So the reason it'll be quite sad to see that go, because it's quite a cool tree hut.
I don't know, because the tree hut has been there for a number of years. It looks like somebody built it for their kids. And
It's
kids
very high quality.
a lot older, and it's fallen into disrepair, a lot of graffiti. It's not used much anymore, I don't think. So I don't think it's used very much. It's not subject to this decision here.
Yeah.
It's an operational issue, yes.
Yeah.
Right, and Al could probably.
Can we maybe just find that out and then I can get to the North Residents Association, because that's the type of thing that could get upset.
It's a really good tree hut.
Yeah.
A lot of work's going into that.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that was my main question, but yeah, I'm picking up. You can hear that.
I see. Aaron's got a question as well.
Yeah, so just on section 5 is unfunded. On your front there, which is the one that most of the residents will see. Area. How much is that unfunded by?
Completely unfunded.
And how much?
Oh, it's a curveball now. Okay, so there's a lot of trees in there. Number 5.
Because we've got a potential problem we can solve with your problem. Is that we're taking out a few street trees here and there at the moment, and we have the council has a policy for every tree we take out, we have to replace with 2. But you can replace way more than 2 for the same amount of money, because a street tree has a value of 700 to they're probably $1,000 now for each street tree. So we put aside a couple of $1,000 to go replace them. How many trees will that get us in section 5 there every time we take one out?
Well, that's your first question. There's about I'm thinking $25,000 worth of preparation and tree planting in there. So it's not an enormous amount.
No, so us taking out 12 street trees would cover the cost of, I mean, it would be a number like that, but we'd get that really quickly with the ones that need to come out that are breaking infrastructure. So we should talk.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Sure.
Whether that requires consultation, that's a very public area.
Well, you've already got it as a plan. Just unfunded.
Unfunded, that's right, yeah. That's
So
what
who gets to, they don't get a say. It's Anthony's plan to plant native trees, just go and do it. This is a mid spot and it's going to be stunning and it's going to be full of bird song and stuff like that. And it's just like, so how would we make that progress, Marianne?
Anthony and I will talk.
Okay.
There are some other options as well.
Okay.
Okay, cool. Because it's just, if we're going to spend that money, 2 more street trees that are only going to get complaints in 30 years to be taken out again and be breaking infrastructure should be going into pockets like this and getting us.
Being for yeah.
I mean, what are you, $10 a tree or something? Yes,
Yeah,
we'll spend
$5 a tree plus $5 to plant it and maintain it.
So it's 100 to 1 benefit of the city's tree canopy.
Yeah.
Makes far too much sense, Aaron.
Yes. Okay.
For, are there any other questions? No. For this particular item, do we need to amend the resolution about the tree hut? And then that it
No,
will.
because
Yeah, I don't think we do.
No? Okay.
he does look into it.
Yeah.
Great, excellent. All right, so give a move. forward. Thank you, Jason. And a seconder, I saw Aaron's hand before, sorry, David. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Any against? Oh, carried.
I'll send the invite.
Awesome, yeah, I can't wait. Wait, when's your birthday again?
2nd of July.
2nd of July. Putting it down. All right, moving on to the next item. We have the discretionary response fund for item number 13. Italy. Hey there.
It's probably over 1,000 there as well. There's one.
Just the, so there's a few little discretionary response ones that popped on there. The Family History Society actually came from over the border there. The person from the group approached one of the elected members and it turned out that they actually sit in our ward and most of the people potentially come from us. So, yeah, it's sharing the load. Yeah, there's not really too much to add beyond what's already on there. The Norwest Brass, we were treating that basically similarly to a youth development fund because it's a travel to Dunedin for a tournament. Yep, and the Bishopdale Community Trust will be moving into St Margaret's, the new church there in Farrington Ave. So it's a bigger space, a bit more area to do, and they're looking at, with the new worker, getting involved in a few more other areas. So they've got connections with Allan Vale and things like that. So they're looking to expand what they deliver. And then the Anzac Day, which is self-explanatory. Yeah, people are really looking forward to getting back into all those events and connecting. So I don't know if you've got any specific questions.
There we do.
And any of them, yeah.
So where the Bishopdale Community Trust currently is in somebody house or that house there, was that being leased off someone privately or does the council own that?
No, that's the church.
Oh, the church owns it. Oh, okay.
Yeah, so what they've done is because they've built the brand new building.
Yeah.
They've built an extra space for the house. They're going to sell the house to pay for the building. And they've got a new space in there called the Hub.
Yeah. So that grassy area to the left there that's quite open, are they putting something in there or there might just be back over the back, isn't it? They've got quite a big space there.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Oh, all right. That's cool.
Yeah.
Nice and flash.
Any other questions for Natalie?
No, but hats off to that group for selling the house to help fund their project, like being really proactive rather than just hand out, we can't afford it. I mean, that's really smart and really commendable. Good on them.
Great. All right. Is anyone who'd like to move? Thank you. Aaron, in a second.
I'm happy to second.
Oh, sorry, Sharish. Okay. All right, Sharish, you got it. You second it. Okay. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Any against? Carried. Great. Thanks so much, Nelly. And number 14, we have Lisa with the Youth Development Fund top up.
Happy to move.
Quite straightforward. Do you want to speak to it? Anything you want to say?
Self-explanatory. We still have 3 months in this financial year left.
Happy to second.
Okay, so that was Aaron to move, Jason to second. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Any against? No, carried. Thanks.
Marianne, it's weird you don't have delegation for that.
That's true.
I find that bizarre.
Yeah, well, when you first set aside the money for the YDF this year, because of COVID, the numbers have been quite low, so we didn't want to do the whole 10,000.
Right, yeah.
And so you did 7.5, and we said, we'll come back to you if we
need.
which we're doing now.
Yeah.
But no, my delegation for YDF is only up to $350. That's what you're given.
Yeah, I would have thought even just moving in between and reporting back would be enough, but I mean, it's.
No,
seems
you've
silly
got
to-
to have a board resolution to move between funds.
Yeah, it just seems like a report for no, you know.
Cool.
Yeah,
All right.
we can't take the money.
Thanks, Lee. Oh, yeah, and you're still here, sorry.
First one to have a bite at the cherry here, new money. This is a really cool one, actually. Handball championships in Croatia is costing him a lot of money because he's got a couple of training camps here and in Hungary as well. So yeah, it's pretty exciting. Young man.
That's awesome.
Very cool. Was that Aaron to move?
Yeah.
And David to second?
Yep.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any against? Carried. Great. Thank you so much, Lisa. Item number 16, we have Miriam for the Community Board Area Report.
Cool, thank you. I'll take the report as read and just highlight a couple of things. I've put the links there to our community profiles. So our board profiles have been updated.
Really good, yeah.
Yeah, we've been getting some really good feedback. And the number of people that have contacted us, because I coordinated the whole lot of them across the city. So people going, oh, how come this isn't in there? How come that's not mentioned? It's like, this is great that a lot of people are reading them.
Yep.
So it's
Yeah.
really, yeah.
I wondered, sorry, I can wait until questions, but.
Okay, and then I've just got in there about our Edible Garden Awards, which were really successful. We were only looking at doing it every second year and alternating with the Garden Pride, but it went down so well. I think the people are expecting it again next year. So we'll have to look at whether we can squeeze doing it in.
Could we do a spring, winter, autumn?
No, with the Horticultural Society, that's the time of the year they want to do it, because that's when the best time is for them to go out and do the,
A run
not
apart
judging, looking.
post it. The people out there, when at the event, they can't like, because they were in it, and they were like, we'll have you out here next year.
Yes.
Yeah, so maybe we do.
Can we do that? Yeah, I reckon that's
Wow.
right.
Then we don't have
Great.
a pirate.
Yeah.
Oh, we.
Yeah.
Oh,
You'll
sorry.
see.
Better catering.
What we've asked for some of the groups that you fund and our staff work with, just to flick through some stories to us every now and then. So what I've started collecting them, and I'll just, put a couple of them in each area report, just so you can see some of the cool stuff that goes on with the funding that you guys give.
Yep.
And then the AED is finally up now, the defibrillator at St. Tim's, which is really cool. The men's shed have done a lot of work around that. And yeah, I think happy to go to questions really, because it's all pretty straightforward.
I see Sam and then Aaron.
Yeah, it's sort of a question suggestion. I wonder when we do our next community board report to council, and you probably already know you've already got this sorted, but whether we have some of the highlights from the ward profiles, like the one that jumped out for me was the average wage, the average income per person in the ward. Like Waimairi was $30,000, and yet if you ask our colleagues around the council table, they'd probably say it's $100,000. So I just
Yeah, I
wonder.
think the difficulty is that those are still the 2018 stats.
Yeah,
So the relevance of them, I even questioned having them in the profiles this year, because
Right.
things are so different.
when
now.
will we get the new? Because
Well, they're still a year away for the new
Yeah.
system.
What do you think, Aaron, in terms of reminding our colleagues sometimes that, because I think they look and go, oh,
At least be something.
yeah, and we can just keep bringing the prices up.
Mm.
It'd be just useful to have a couple of the key themes from those ward profiles into your presentation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yep, cool, thank you.
Yes.
Cool. Chris, yes.
Oh, one question.
Sorry, it was Aaron.
Oh, yeah, that's-
Sorry.
I forgot what I was going to ask, Bridget.
I always get the name of this wrong. Main North Road, Belfast, Heritage Place. Something like a motor broken window when I was driving. Still untenanted.
Yeah, we were just talking about that the other
I
day.
walk past it every day.
Yeah, I think there was something that the leasing team were dealing with about it.
Can you remember? Because they had to get up to healthy home standards.
Yes, it didn't quite meet the healthy home standard.
So those would be the healthy.
You're better off living in your car than being in a slightly drafty old place.
Yeah.
So before we can rent it out, we need to get it up.
So I can hear Aaron already saying those healthy home standards that we knew about in advance before we actually did the refit to make it into a livable place?
Wasn't
enough.
We can ask, they may have
One would
changed.
assume that one would know and what standards
Council
was before we
and
started.
government got a longer time period. They gave themselves, or social housing for the most vulnerable period, had a longer period.
They could just be waiting for the sign. I mean, it could be.
It's been extended again.
Oh, really? For themselves? Could they do that for landlords?
Aaron, have you got a question? Have you remembered it?
No, I can't.
That's right. You could bring it up in a lead to members information exchange.
Yes.
Okay. Can we have a mover for the report?
Aye.
Thanks, Jason. And David to second.
Aye.
Great. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any against? No, carried.
And well done on those profiles. They're really good.
Oh,
Yeah.
Ashley.
Awesome.
And also a huge thank you to I mean, I wasn't there unfortunately, but it sounded like an incredible event, the Edible Garden Awards. So
Yeah.
awesome work. Very cool.
The Sam and Aaron showed him
I
that.
missed out on
Okay, moving on to item 17, elected members information exchange. I have something. Oh, sorry, it's not like you're going to say something.
No, it was just a. It wasn't a.
Just a guy.
An ill times tire.
Okay, I just wanted to raise, I got an email from two students of Selwyn House and they would like to come, they wanted to speak to me, but I felt like it was a board thing, but they want to know what are the issues in the community because they're part of like a community problem solvers group, must be like a problem solvers thing within the school. And I wasn't sure whether we wanted to give them like this, I don't mean to make it sound patronizing, but like, you know, like a fun report for them to see like what the issues are or whether.
No, give them a hard one.
Pardon?
Give them a hard one.
But how do we push it down more?
Give them the Fendalton profile number.
Yeah. Give them that one.
Give them Natalie's number.
Yeah, what would be the best way forward? Because I mean, I'm happy to meet with them because obviously it might be like fun to explain what community board does and that sort of thing, or we can meet together.
We can meet together with them. That's probably a good idea.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Natalie.
Yeah, give them a hard one.
Yeah.
Bishop Dale Mall or something like that. Like, something really, because their thinking might spark something that no one thought of.
It could also be they're looking for problems in the immediate area of the school, so it might be boundary focused as well. I'm not sure. Yeah.
It'll be traffic.
Yeah.
Okay.
Around Selwyn.
Thanks.
My question, it was actually around Bishop Dale Mall. And I guess it's more of a question of whether or not we can actually find out some information. Now, I remember last term we had a staff member come and talk to us who was working on the like urban regeneration stuff, and there was Bishop Dale Mall and there was New Brighton Mall and all this kind of stuff. Now, I remember he left. Maybe it was too much for him. But it kind of died after that. Did we rehire into that? Was that role rehired? And is there somebody doing anything in the background on those types of projects? Or is that just?
I don't believe he's been replaced, but I think it wasn't him leaving that kind of stopped it. I think the demise of DCL had some involvement in that as well, because they were driving a lot of those ideas out there. But I think it's easy enough for us to catch up looking at Natalie with the regen team and see where things are at.
Just see if we could get an update on that to see, if we can slowly, albeit keep trying to move forward with it, would be good.
We kind of need a consensus around Bishopdale. I still think we should host a meeting with all the landowners, because about 50, I think, that own every single shop and stuff like that. And Linda's husband's family have some property in there and stuff, but there's a whole lot of landowners that will get them all together and say, are you interested in doing a comprehensive design and bulk, or do you want to keep it as it is? Because if there's no buy-in, because if they are, we own the most land there. I'm more than happy to say we sell out to whoever. But at least start that conversation. I thought it was meant to have happened, but because the only way to do them all is comprehensive design. You cannot have bits and pieces. You can't have 50 decision makers. You need one. And that's it. And
we'll talk to the urban regen team and see if they could come and have a workshop briefing with us about it.
Or even before that, talk to the Bishopdale Business Association and ask if they want us, and it could be just Linda, Jason and I, go host a chat for a night and just.
I think it would be a steer from staff before you kind of go and meet with businesses and raise expectations that we might not be able to meet. Natalie's just been out and talked to all the business owners out there.
Yeah, so I did a business survey and
Yeah.
Only a third of them are actually in the Business Centre Association.
Right.
So, yeah, I'm about to put some of those results together. It was really good conversations that were had, and it was more the people who were running the businesses, not necessarily
The property owners, yeah,
property
good
owners.
point.
So yeah, but we are doing a Bishopdale group meeting with the safety initiative group, so it's stakeholders in Bishopdale.
Right.
And board members, so.
I mean, because we could hire to the film industry to double for Bosnia and Serbia and things like that when they're shooting war movies.
Okay, thanks, Erin. Great. Anything else? We've got a workshop after this as well, so. Yeah. No? Great, okay. Well, then what we'll do is we'll stand for the closing karakia and then we'll close the meeting. All right, do you mind putting it on the screen?
Kia wātea, kia māma, te nāngau, te tinana, te wairua, I te ara takata. Ko ia rā e rongo, whakawhaia ake ki runga. Kia tina, huia, taiki.
And we'll close the meeting at 6:36 p.m.